Abuja is bad shit crazy. Because how did I end up with Precious, who was a night walker? Gotta let me tell you. Hey, voila. I went for this gig as an usher, okay? Somewhere at Silver Bed. And I was one of the first people to arrive. I never go to any place early, by the way, but for some weird reasons that day, I was early. I don't know why, but I was early. Let's move on. I got there and I met two girls there. One of them was Precious. I said hi to the both of them because I met them there. And the both, said hi back. But the second girl wasn't that friendly, but Precious was. So obviously we clicked and we started talking while we're waiting for the rest of the guys to come. They did eventually show up, and the guy coordinating us gave us our uniforms and then stationed us, me and Precious, to be at the entrance receiving the guests when they're coming inside. The event starts. Before I go any further, I want to talk about Precious, okay? Precious was one of those girls that you don't need to ask, is this one fine? No, 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 no. Auntie, once you see her, girl, she was a literal walking angel on earth. You know those girls are neither fair, chocolate, or dark skin. But they just have this glow to their skin. It was Precious. She was 6 foot tall, nothing short of 6 foot tall, because she was taller than me. She had a very pointed nose and this cat eyes that are like this that I personally do love. Okay, she had a very beautiful lips that just sat down. Pecky boobs. Yes, I said it. I'm straight, but I know what I'm talking. I'm gonna get to how I know her boobs are pecky. Flat stomach, just all around gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. Mwah. Fast forward, event starts. Every person that walked through that door stopped for a second to stare at Precious. She was a literal eye candy. Like the girl was fine. After the event, of course, we had to mingle, and majorly the attendants were all Nollywood actors. So it was that kind of thing, that fancy, like, oh, I want to take pictures. And she was like, everyone was trying to talk to her because she was the girl. She was beautiful. In between, she said, oh, by the way, do you want us to share a cab? And I said, sure. So she's like, where do you stay? Call the name of my estate. And then she was like, this is so awkward, but we literally live in the same estate. I said, oh, what a coincidence. So she has this guy who comes to pick her up. It's like a private taxi for her. So the guy shows up, okay? And, we get in the taxi and we start to drive to the estate. So when we got talking, she was like, do you want to exchange number? I said, sure. So we exchanged our numbers. When we got into the estate, she was like, do you want them to drop me off first or you? So I said, it doesn't matter. I don't mind. So the guy eventually dropped me off first. And she was like, no way, you stay here. I'm like, yeah, I stay here. She was like, come on. My house is literally the next street. So I said, okay. Now this makes this friendship, it's definitely going to happen because your house is just here and mine is here. So, like, we have to be friends. I want to say something. So, after school, my mom insisted, okay, and I hated her for this, all right? She insisted that I had to go and learn a handwork. So, she was like, I don't care if you're a vulcanizer, a mechanic, like, it doesn't matter. You have to go learn something. So, she chose tailoring. So what happens is from 9 a.m. until 4 p.m., 5-ish, I'm usually at tailoring school. After a few days, she texted me and was like, do you want to grab something at Chicken Republic? So I said, why not? I can. And I said, what time? She said, around 5. I said, okay, because I am in school right now. She was like, what school? So I told her, and she said, oh, that's really nice. Long story short, we became friends. Okay. We went out at first at Chicken Republic. We sat down, we ate, we talked about life and all of that. So I asked her, I'm like, because at the first glance, okay, when you look at Precious, you just know that Precious was coming from money. Okay, it's either she had the money or like her parents has money, but she wasn't just a regular girl. She was coming from money. You get. So I was like, okay, by the way, what are you even doing here in Abuja? Are you living with your family? Like, are you schooling? She was like, not really. That she's just here for a while, but she's in school, so she's gonna go back. So in my mind, I'm thinking it's gonna be like a thing of probably she's staying with someone. We finished that particular outing. After a few days, she texted me and said, do you want to come by my place? I said, oh, sure. So I went to her house. She stayed in a studio apartment, well furnished, okay? When she opened the door, there was this smell that hit my face. In my mind, there was no way that smell was coming from that apartment. I'm going to tell you guys what the smell was and why I thought it was definitely not coming from that apartment. I was like trying to figure out the smell, because I have a very sensitive nose. Sat down, try to make myself comfortable, but the smell was still very strong. It was the senior brother. So I was like, no, this girl is not, no. Princess, you have to stop. Okay, stop yourself from thinking that. She offered me drinks and like make yourself comfortable. She was playing Delima by Nelly and Kerry Rowland. I will never forget. We got vibey, young girls were just, I think she was older than me by probably a few months, maybe 8 months or 9 months. We got vibey, we got talking, we got chilling, and then after a few minutes, like about 30 minutes into the conversation, she was like, "Excuse me." She went into the kitchen, came out with trying to roll it. When she came out and I noticed this, I was like, okay, my eyes are definitely deceiving me. Now I'm going to ask questions. By the way, I look so good. I am using this Givenchy, the shade 6N 480. This is absolutely beautiful. This is beautiful. Look at that skin. Okay, let's proceed. So I looked at her, I'm like, is that what I think it is? She's like, yeah, do you want one? Sister, calm down. Do I want what? She's like, yeah, do you want one? I'm like, absolutely not. I am gasped and gasted that you have it with you. Like, this is shocking. Okay? So I was like, are you gonna smoke that? She's like, yeah. Do you have a problem? I said, no, 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 no. No. First and foremost, I mean, your apartment, I can have a problem with you smoking. I said, it's just that when I came in, I perceived it, but I didn't really. I thought maybe it was just me. She's like, no, no, I smoke it. She said, oh, that's cool. I said, are you gonna smoke this one now? She's like, yeah. Is there anything? I said, no, because if you smoke it, I'm gonna smell of it, and I cannot go back home smelling of it because I have no explanation to give to my mama that Ojim Kamga tailoring school. Now better with the smelling Igbo. There is no explanation. So that's why I'm just asking. Then she's like, oh, it's fine. You can just use my perfume and spray and go. By the way, it's gonna go off anytime. I'm like, my mind is not going to go because it's still smelling in your apartment. So she lights up this thing, she smokes. I'm looking at her, I'm saying, what kind of thing I don't enter? It was my first time going to her house, okay? After a while, I left. Fast forward now to 2 weeks later, she invites me over again. I trained like a small party with my friends. Do you want to come? So I said, sure, I went. When I got there, I met two girls. All three of them were. So at this point, it's beginning to give off like, okay, I need to, pay attention to what's happening. Mind you, I'd asked her what she does for money, and she told me that her parents sent her money and that she's coming from a good family, like they're well off. Aside from the ushering gig that she does every now and then, she was also a model on the side, which makes sense, okay? But I just left it at that. Now, seeing those girls and seeing the setup, I just knew it was giving 2 plus 2 minus 1 equals to 0 times 2 minus 0. If you get the math, you get the math. Okay. Start to pay attention because it's one thing for me to be hanging around her. It's one thing for my mom to eventually, because the estate is very big, but not big enough for people not to know what's up. Okay. And my mom has eyes here, nose all over her. Somebody to go and tell my mom, oh, there's this girl your daughter is hanging around with. Do you know she? Before we explain to my mother for her to understand, the beating I would have chopped. That party was happening and things was going on. I was just watching, observing, trying to understand what was happening. So she made an introduction. She introduced me to those girls like her church friend. So they all laughed at me, which was really nothing because it's not the first time somebody's calling me church girl. And I'm a proud church girl. After the party, they were like, okay, they're going to continue in the club. Do I want to come? So I said, I cannot go to the club just like that. Like, I have to inform my mom at least 1 week before that I want to do something that is out of the ordinary. They were like, this is why we say you're a church girl. I said, okay, one thing we can do is you can follow me to my house, and I'll tell my mom that we're having a party at your place and I want to chill with you. Mom likes fine people. Okay, so my mom has met her once and fell in love with her because of her beauty, but didn't know much about her, just knows where she stays. When I said that to her, she was like, okay, fine. I know Momsi now, let's go. So we went to my house and she was like, Momsi, is it okay for Princess to stay with me this evening because we want to do like a girls' party in my house, like a hangout. My mom was like, okay, if you're going to go, I don't want you to come back at night. You can come back, the next day. It's fine, as long as you're safe. My mom had a number, knows where she was staying. So I left. We got to her house. I didn't take my clothes because if I take any extra clothes, My mom will ask me, why am I taking extra clothes and not like nightwear? So I told her, you're going to give me your clothes to wear. Otherwise, this thing will cast. Went to our place, we got dressed, and then we went to the club. We got to the club, people were hailing her and her friends like they were, regular guests here. She came and whispered to me and said, my cab guy will take you home whenever you're ready. So I said, why? We're all not going back together. She said, no, because she has work. She said, oh, you have work? I'm like, you work in the club? She says, no, I don't work in the club, but like, I have work. Okay. What kind of work do you have by 2 a.m.? I took that information, I heard it. I was like, okay, something is not adding up. So around 2:30, I told her, okay, I want to leave. So she calls the cab guy. The cab guy comes to pick me up and takes me to her place. She gives me her key. I go to her place. So we texted during the day, to keep in touch and check up what's up, what's up. And I told her, thank you so much for taking me out, all of that, blah, 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 blah. Fast forward now to this particular day. We're at her house, okay, chilling with those two girls. And then the doorbell goes off. I go to pick and it was a guy. So I was like, oh, there's a guy there. Should I open? She said, no, hold on. So she comes to the door, peeks through the opening and saw the guy and shouted, Jesus. So all of us, we all got started. We jumped up. I was like, what? Precious, what? She's like, I don't die. I don't die. I don't die. So I'm like, what's happening? So the girls, one of them ran to the door to look. I was like, oh boy. That kind of expression. So I'm like, what's happening? Because I saw this person first. I'm like, the person does not look like a harmful person. So I'm like, what's going on? Like, Precious, what's going on? What's happened? She's like, she was just shouting, I don't die. So I'm like, okay, what's happening? Because if I'm panicking, I don't know what to happen. So I picked my phone to call my mom. She's like, don't call your mom. Don't call anybody. It's fine. I will sort it. So I said, but what are you sorting? It's around 7:30 each in the evening. So I'm like, what are you sorting? Like, what's going on? So the guy said something. He said, Precious, don't make me ring the bell again. So at this point, I'm like, okay, somebody needs to talk to me. I don't understand what's happening. Then one of the girls says, is her brother. So I said, I had this relief. I'm like, okay, open the door for your brother. Like, what's there? What's the worst that can happen? All three of them that knew what was happening was looking at themselves and just panicking. Eventually, one of the girls says, you have to open the door. She goes to open the door. One of the girls, she opens the door and the guy comes in straight to Precious, giving her just like in 1 minute. Precious was on the floor. He was on top of Precious, beating her, pulling her by her hair, dragging her out of the house. Two other guys comes in like bouncers. It was just in a split second, it was mess. So me, I'm trying to gather myself to run out. I don't like. It was just a lot happening. I started shouting, help, oh, help, oh, help, oh. So people around, the neighborhood ran out because people like Precious. Again, like I said, she was a beautiful girl. So like people just loved her. So boys coming with like, trying to attack the guy. Why are you beating her? They pushed him away. Then the two other guys who came, they were like bouncers, was like, this is a family issue. Stay off, stay off. And they were like, we don't care. Who are you? Like, why are you beating her? It's not allowed. It was not becoming a serious matter. In my mind, I'm like, okay, like what's really going on? One of the girls, I pulled her to the side. I'm like, girl, what the heck is going on? Like, if my mom comes and finds me in this kind of situation, like my own don't go. What's going on? Then the girl said, it's a long story, but Precious is not supposed to be in Abuja. She's supposed to be in school. So I said, okay, she did mention that she was in school, but why is the brother beating her like she stole, like she's an arm robber? And the girl said, say Precious, they do a shower work, abi? I said, I beg your finest pardon. What do you mean? You say all of us here. I said, no, all of... Auntie, all of who were? Like all three of you? She said, yes. I said, hey. So that was the work she told me she had at 2 a.m. the other day at the club. But, okay, so she's like, that something happened. Apparently, one of the elder brother's friend picked her up 3 times, okay? And the last one decided to talk about her to her brother. Without knowing that was her brother, he was like telling his friend, oh, there's this girl, I'm carrying every now and then from the club. I like her. She's in the street, but like, I feel like I can, take her out of the street because she's a very beautiful girl. So he went on, and the elder brother was like, okay, let me see this girl's picture. Let's even see if this girl is even fine. So he sends Precious's picture to our elder brother, and your guess is good as mine. He was like, no. It was like, there's been a mix up. Send me another picture. I just want to clarify something. So the friend was like, what do you mean? Do you know this person? He said, yeah, but I want to be sure she's the one before I tell you what I know about her. The guy said, okay, sure, bet. So he sends the second picture to the brother, and the brother confirmed it was Precious. So ever since he found out that Precious was doing that kind of a thing, he asked where she stayed. Obviously, that guy had dropped her off twice at that place. He got the address and, like, kept spy around to be checking around what day and what time and how Precious was moving, and decided to come that day to grab Precious. So at this point, everybody knew Precious was a street girl, aside from me. I didn't know. Now, eventually, he took her away in the car. And, the other two guys said, where is the key to the apartment? They need to lock the door. So obviously, we all had to leave. So me, I'm going home. I'm thinking, I'm like, what? What just happened? Come to find out, Precious is actually a real big man's child. So she had come to Abuja to visit her brother for holiday, stayed for the holiday, and said she was going back to school. So the brother took her to the park for her to go back to school, of course. And when the brother left, Precious turned around, went to our estate, rented an apartment for a complete 1 year. Okay, and she was running to the third month now, and started to do night work. In my mind, I'm like, at what point did she think that the brother would find out? Because it's Abuja. Like, people talk. It's as big as Abuja is it can be small when it wants to be small. There was an incident at home and she's trying to rebel against her parents. So I said to myself, if you want to rebel, share you will rebel with your body, your dignity. Share you will not rebel some other way. Like, this is the best you could pull off. How many men have carried her that probably knows the brother? Now, this is the icing on the cake. The brother was a Zenith Bank manager. Now, you imagine the embarrassment. Let's not talk about who her father was, okay? I don't want to mention who her father was because that conversation is very long. Eventually, my mom got to find out that she was a street girl. And for the longest of time, I did not hear the end of that story. Because every small thing I do, is it not you that went to... That was how Precious was snatched out from that estate. And I kept in touch with her for a few weeks. I was asking her, you okay? She's like, no, they've taken her phone from her, that this was the last time they were allowing her to use her phone. And the plan was to take her abroad because they were not going to have it anymore. So she had done something crazier before. And then this one was like the father of the craze. So at this point, the family was like, you know what? We're going to just bundle you and toss you away. I don't know where she is right now, but I hope life turned out well for her because she was a sweetheart with a good heart and a beautiful soul.